everybody, it's CheckDFX coming at you with another Minecraft tutorial. It has been a long time since I posted a video for my tutorial series, and it's just been busy in real life for my job, my family, and all that stuff, so I have taken quite a long of a break. I think it's been about 2 or 3 years since I think I posted last. It was well before the pandemic, I know that much. And the last time I was posting video was for the smart rail system using 1.12, and since then we've gone through numerous other updates. We are all the way now at 1.20, but Mojang and Microsoft just announced just a few weeks ago at Minecon the release of version 1.21 as well as some of the new features. We are currently in Minecraft Snapshot 23W44A. I rarely ever do snapshot videos, but this is something I just had to come on and start talking about because this is something I've been talking about for years. And that is, Minecraft has been needing this one particular feature for a long time. I think this is something that's a game changer in the redstone community, and that is with the crafter. Yes, the crafter. This is for the first time we actually have auto crafting with this thing. So without further ado, let's get into the tutorial and let's start with the basics of the crafter. Now the first thing we're going to go over is the crafting recipe. You're going to need 5 iron ingots, 1 crafting table, 1 dropper, and 2 redstone dust in order to craft a crafter. Once you've got all that done, then you get this lovely thing right here that will help you with auto crafting. Now this part here, you don't have to worry about that. We'll be using that a little bit later in the video. Now based on this crafting recipe, you can assume 2 things. One is going to have the behaviors of both a crafting table and a dropper. So this is going to behave as both of these things in one. So first of all, once you craft it, in order to place it, you just right click on a spot and there you go. You can place it like that. And it is directional, so you can actually place it in whatever way you want. In this way, you can also place it facing up, and just like a dropper, let's get this here, you can also face it downwards as well. Just like a dropper, this crafter will also feed into any type of inventory block that is placed in front of it. So if I were to take a barrel here and I put the barrel in front and then this thing were to spit something out, it would end up in the barrel. Same thing goes for hoppers, furnaces, or anything else of that sort. Now, just like the crafting table has this interface like this, the crafter has this type of interface, which is very similar, but there are some differences. For instance, the slots that we have here can be kept open, or you can click on them to disable them, effectively closing that slot so that it can no longer be used. For instance, if you wanted to make some stone in the crafting table, you just have put the recipe for, let's say not stone, but stone bricks. We just put 1, 2, 3, 4. There's your stone brick, and you can pull your stone brick out. With the crafter, you all can do that. Just 1, 2, 3, 4. There's your stone brick, but you can't pull it out. In order to pull this out, you need to actually apply a redstone signal to the crafter, and that will allow the item to be spit out. So there we have our stone with our stone bricks. Let's go ahead and push the button, and there goes your stone bricks. Now with droppers, as this is part of the crafter's crafting recipe, you'll see that if you start adding like a single block there, you'll get a redstone signal of 1, and then if you get a full stack, you'll have a signal of 2, and then you put another one there and you can get yourself it's still at 2, and you can keep on adding them. There you got a signal strength of 3, now it's 4, and then another half stack there. It's still a 4. Let's see here, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there you go. So it's going to 5 there. And you can fill this whole thing up in order to get a full signal strength of 15. You can see the redstone lamp over there at right after the 15th piece of redstone wire there. Now, with the crafter, it's a bit different. As you can probably tell, I've already set it up. And this is just outside of where the crafter would typically have its full range of redstone strength. Now, as from in terms of the signal is concerned. Now, if I were to take some stone and put it in the crafter like this, 1, that's a signal strength of 1. And then I put another one here, 2, signal strength of 2. You get it right there. But if I put another one over here, it's still at 2. It doesn't change like this one. So that means that whenever we place an item in each slot, that adds to the redstone signal that comes out of the comparator. So let's go ahead and fill this up. We have signal strength of 3. 1, 2, 3 more, that's 6. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as a signal strength of 6. And you guessed it, 9. And you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it doesn't even reach the 10th one. If I take this out, put this here, there you go. There's our full redstone signal strength. Now, as I mentioned before, the crafter has these slots that can be enabled and disabled. And just like when you put an item into a single slot, you can see here you have a redstone signal strength of 1. Same thing happens when you disable a slot. You get a redstone signal strength of 1. And it works the same way. 2, 3, you have signal strength of 3. 4, signal strength of 4. 5, 6, signal strength of 6. 7, 8, that's 8. And then we have 9, that's a signal strength of 9. There we go. And so you can mix and match as you wish. Again, if I take my recipe for stone bricks, and I put 1, 2, 3, 4 right there, and because these are disabled, I get a signal strength of 9. Now, the most simplest form of the crafter is to have the signal go right back into the crafter itself. So you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pieces of redstone wire that's pointing back in its block. And of course, when this block gets powered, so will the crafter, just like any other item like it's like the dropper, for instance, or a dispenser. So let's go ahead and make something. We're gonna make some stone bricks again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, like that, right? Of course, it's not going to actually spit anything out yet. So I'm gonna take one block out, and I'm gonna first of all disable these. Now you have your redstone signal at a value of 1. You can see there on the right hand side, target block, Minecraft redstone wire, and the power level is 1. And you can see here power level is 8. Now the moment I go ahead and put a single block in here, whoops, over here, it'll spit out your stone bricks. Now, a small note about how this thing works when it's filling up items. So if I were to take a hopper and I would put an item, I would put the hopper right on top, and then I start putting my items into my hopper, you'll see how it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It goes from top left to top right, then middle left to middle right, and then from bottom left to bottom right. Now, if I take this and I go ahead and disable these ones over here to make the recipe for stone bricks or whatever it is I'm trying to make, you'll see that it still follows that same principle. You see them going in there, and you can see it starts going 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's also spitting out stone bricks. So you can see I'm ending up picking them up. If I stand outside, you'll see them coming out of the mouth of the crafter there when it opens up. The same thing goes is if I have the recipe ready for a set of stone brick stairs or just stairs in general, I can then put my blocks in for my stairs, and then you can see that it starts to fill exactly the same way, and that it ignores the slots that have been disabled. And there you can see it's spitting out stone stairs. As mentioned before, you can also take a inventory block like a barrel and stick it right in front, and then you can go ahead and first of all set your crafter to whatever recipe you want. If the disabled slots for that recipe, put your blocks in, and there you go. Now it won't go flying out, it'll just go straight into the inventory block. In this case, we have a barrel while this is crafting stone bricks. So why don't we try and make this a little bit more compact and more generic in terms of an auto crafter. So to do that, we're going to take a comparator, put that on the side over here, right click on there to put it in a subtractive mode, then put another comparator here. Then take yourself a composter and then keep on right clicking with some seeds until it gets completely filled. You'll see as I do this, comparator turns off. There we go. And now, if I go ahead and delete that and then do this one more here, you can see it only turns on when it has a full signal strength of 9. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take a block and put that here. So here, and then we're going to take another repeater here and then a block here, put the rest of them dust over here, and we could put, if you want, we could put a little bit of a delay on that. And then what you can do is you can get yourself some building blocks, and we're going to go ahead and also get yourself a hopper and a barrel. So we put the barrel on the front and the hopper in front at the top here. Those are just your inputs and outputs. And now we can set our crafter to craft oak wood. Let's go ahead and do that. Right there you see we have oak wood now coming out of this system here. Now let's say we have something, let's say it's something a little more complex for whatever reason, then we're not going to do it like this. Instead, we're going to still go ahead and take this out first of all. And instead what we're going to do is we're going to expand it a little bit. And we're going to put a comparator here, repeater here, put a few ticks on, and then there you go. So you have a comparator clock that feeds into it. Now it's going to be a bit of a delay. So if I go ahead and put my oak wood, my oak logs in there, you're going to see that it's a little bit of a delay before it actually goes and actually crafts the oak wood over there. Now we can go ahead and decrease this to make it a little bit faster. First of all, we need to, okay, let's try and make something else here. Let's go get something, let's get some oak planks this time. Oops. And we're going to put we're going to make some stairs this time. And put our oak planks in there. As you can see, we got oak planks being made. And you can see the crafter's behavior here. So generally we would use this configuration for more complicated recipes like redstone repeaters, comparators, or anything else that involves multiple different items that you would need to include with your crafting recipe for the auto crafter. While the other version where we had it without the clock would be suitable to more simpler recipes. Now that we've gone over the basics, let's go on to something a little bit more advanced. So we showed you this one, now we're going to go over to more advanced recipes. So this one is one that will autocraft repeaters. So if you look in here, I already got some stuff loaded into these barrels here. And if we go look over here, we have our crafter set to have these bottom ones disabled. And this simply operates on a comparator clock. So if I go ahead and flip this, it'll start spitting the items out. And there you go, it'll start having this go into here. So we have a comparator clock that then keeps a bit of more of a delay than if you had it with just the configuration that we had over there. And then this would allow enough time for all the items to gather into this crafter, right? As you can see, you have this top one here sort of acting like a filter, same with this one here is acting like a filter, so that all the items end up getting into the right spot. Now we could also decrease the number of ticks in this to make it a little bit faster, and also this should have a little bit less of that overflow that's coming in. So and you could play with this and see what works best for you. Same idea, you have a redstone comparator clock, which is then sending the signal here. You have a full 4 ticks here, or is it actually, yes, it's actually like 3 ticks. Then 3 ticks here, 3 ticks here, and then this one activates 3 dispensers because this is all stone, so it doesn't really matter what order they get in. But the idea is that it spits out the items into the water stream in a particular order according to the recipe. So the order is depending upon here, so going from left to right from the top, and then from the middle going left to right. And if we had something over here, we'd go from left to right at the bottom. So it will follow a pattern like this, right? So you can see here, you've got redstone repeater, redstone dust, redstone repeater, and then 3 stone. Now let's say you want something that's a little more automatic, so we don't want the lever to trigger the comparator clock and keep it ticking. So what we're going to do is use an AND gate with the same type of mechanism we were using before. So this crafter is meant to craft candles. So you'll see you have the crafter is set up like this with only these 2 slots enabled while the others are disabled. And in this case, we have the crafter pointing up into this set of hoppers and then into this barrel. Now, it doesn't really matter. You could easily have it go this way as well. I just chose to put it that way just to show you that I can do that. It's not a big deal. Otherwise, everything else in terms of this particular build is the same elements as what we had before with the composter, the 2 comparators, the repeater, and the redstone dust over here. And now, if we go over here, you'll see we have 2 droppers. Okay, one dropper is having string fed into it, and then you have another dropper here which has honeycomb being fed into it via these hoppers over here. So this dropper has a comparator coming out of it, and so does this dropper. These feed into an AND gate, which is 3 blocks across. You have 2 redstone torches on either side and a redstone wire in between them. So when this dropper starts receiving items, this will power on, and then we'll turn this torch off. And when this one receives items, this one will power on and turn the torch off on that side. When both torches are turned off, you get this redstone dust, or this wire, being turned off, which allows this torch to turn on. And then you have a signal going into this comparator clock right here. The comparator clock feeds into this block, which powers this block and then turns the redstone torch off and on as that ticks. And then you'll get a pulse coming through this one here. So you can see it's turned on, but then when it starts to turn on and off, that'll cause these redstone torches here to turn on and off. And then that will cause these droppers to start spitting out items. So let's go ahead and try this on. So if we go ahead and start letting the items here, so I've had a block here to stop the items from going through this hopper, but you can see there's one item that's there, but it's not flowing. But if I go ahead and turn this on, you'll see that eventually you get items coming into here, but there are no items in here, and this thing's not ticking. But when the items start coming into here, there you go. You have your items coming in order. And if you look at your crafter, it's crafting candles. And those are being stored in this barrel over here. Now, once we go ahead and turn one of these off, eventually when this is running out, because this looks like it's got quite a bit, this thing will eventually stop as well. Now, we've got a lot of items in here. So we're going to go ahead and take some of this out. Let's go ahead and reduce this. So we only got 3 left. And just to show you that once it runs out of string, the whole thing stops. Even though you still have some stuff in here, right? The moment that the string goes back in, it starts working again. And the same thing can be also said for the honeycomb. Take the honeycomb out. You got a little bit of string in there, but the whole thing stops. Put some honeycomb in, and it starts working again. So now let's go to the generic concept of a general purpose auto crafter. You heard me, general purpose. This is going to be something that will allow you to craft absolutely anything. But to be able to do this, we're going to have to go through some concepts first. So this is a little conceptual build for demonstration purposes only. So what you're going to have is you're going to have an input with a barrel that will go into a hopper line that goes into a single dropper. That dropper feeds into a comparator that is in comparative mode instead of subtractive mode. You then have that, when it turns on, that'll power on this block here, which will then power this redstone torch in order forcing it to turn off. And then when that turns off, you'll see there's this glass here. This glass is just making sure to represent lines that are further down that attach onto other modules. But it'll go the redstone torch will power the redstone dust here, which will go into the elements for an AND gate. So you'll see a redstone torch here and a block here with some redstone dust on this. So what happens is, if we were to have this connect to this here like this, right? And then let's say we go ahead and if this one was to turn off, so I'm going to simulate that just by, let's get ourselves a lever just to simulate it, okay? And if I turn this one off, nothing happens, right? But if I turn this one off, this turns on, powering this repeater, which then powers this block, turns off this redstone torch, power, which allows this block to be unpowered. This turns on this redstone torch, which powers this comparator clock, which would then keep ticking. That goes into a monostable circuit, a comparator monostable circuit, which would activate on the rising edge of the clock. So you only have one tick come out instead of having this thing staying on for quite some time. So one tick would come out, and then that would cause this redstone torch to toggle on and off, which would then toggle the dropper on and off. So if we go ahead and just put some items in here, you can see what's happening here. There it goes. All the items are going in there, and then that will go into a output, which is this hopper over here. So let's go ahead and take those out. Let's go ahead and take these items out of here first, and then we'll take this out here. Now, another thing we may want to do is to be able to disable and enable certain inputs along the AND gate line, or rather called the AND gate line. So we're going to take this out, and we're going to take this out here, right? Again, if I go ahead and put this in here, you can see that turns off. If I put this in here, put someone here, both of them turn off, and they will start to spit items out. Now this one doesn't have a line here, so if I just extend this out and get myself a redstone torch, put that here, and put some redstone dust on top, and then redstone torch over here. Now they're both doing it at the same time. Now here's the thing though, you're going to want to have these with a delay in between, right? And typically it would be in the opposite directions also. This so this would be going more like this instead. So we take this out, put this here, and then get this repeater like this. It would be going in this direction, so that this one will fire before this one, so that the item from here comes to the output before this one does. And we want to put a significant amount of delay in between. So we put full second there. And there you go. So now it's going 1, 2. Now if you want, you can speed that up a little bit. Good 5 ticks will be enough. You can't see it because of the hopper that's there, but you can see that there are items that are in here that are being spat out. So again, AND gate line over here with your dropper mechanisms that are there. The droppers feed into comparators. They go into some NOT gates, or into the AND gate, into these redstone torch, which feeds into the AND gate line. When the AND gate is activated, it powers this line here, which goes into a comparator clock, which then goes into a monostable circuit, which then activates the line that would then activate these droppers in order. So first, second, third, fourth, all the way up to 9th. So you can have this extended all the way to 9th. And like I said before, you can have them disabled. If you wanted to disable any single one, you can just do like this. And then if I go ahead and take this out, for instance, right? So now this one's not activated because there's nothing in it. Watch, if I go ahead and put some items back in again, so let me take some items out of here, and I'm going to put some items into this one, it'll start spitting out because this input here from the AND gate line has been disabled, because I have a switch here that allows me to do so. So this lever, what happens is it powers some redstone dust, which goes into this block. When it's enabled, so when it's turned off, when the lever's turned off, then what happens is you can see that this whole thing will stop, even though there are items in this particular one, but no items in here. So if I have a redstone wire going in here and then going into this block, that goes into this torch, which then feeds into the block, feeds into this torch. There's a redstone signal transmission system that's here. That then feeds into the this block here, and then this redstone torch, which is feeding into the AND gate line. So what happens is if you then go and put this off, you can see over here that because of the comparator here, even though this one is completely, that switch lever is turned off, this comparator is keeping this one turned off so that when that redstone torch deactivates, the whole thing will start working because that one there will turn on. So if we go ahead and do that, let's go and turn this one off. You can see, there you go, it starts working again. Now you can use the concepts in this to build a full-fledged 9-slot, fully automated autocrafter that is completely all-purpose. I said that right, it's completely all-purpose. You can even have this, you can even go and put more hoppers in this thing. So let's say you have hoppers in here, you can put more hoppers in there. You can get some additional hoppers. We want to have them coming off in this direction like this. So like this, and up like that, and then go up like that way. So then what happens is then you can put it like that, and then if you want to, you could put item filters in here. You know what, as a matter of fact, I'll go ahead and show it just in case for those folks who don't know about item filters. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put like this here, and it's going to go like one here, and then it's going to be another one over like this. You take that block out, this goes here, there, like that. We have that. We can build a very basic item filter. Let's get ourselves a comparator and put this here, redstone dust, repeater over here, and a redstone torch, which is going to go right over into this one over here. Now we're going to take this hopper out. We're going to put this over here and feed that hopper into this. And actually, this is going to be too high. We got to take this, face that into that comparator. Bring this a little bit higher. There you go. And then you can just put your barrel or whatever it is, or your chest over here, or whatever input. And then you can just take your items, and then you can take, let's say redstone dust. I don't know what it is. Let's take some redstone dust. And we don't want to have about 20 redstone dust. We can also put renamed items here. So these are don't care slots. We just want to put renamed items here if you want to. And I'm just putting this because it's more quicker. And there you go. Now your filter is set. Okay, you can see one item is there. So now if I start feeding items into here, you'll have all the redstone going in here. Now we could put whatever other item in, I don't know, stone for whatever reason. Okay, and we can put, let's see, let's get a barrel, or let's get a chest. So we have a chest here, like that, and we put the chest right on top over here. Add another hopper just so it sucks out more items more quickly. And then we can put both items in there, and you'll see it starts to take those items. Now this is this one thing is, let's see here. I think we have one of these activated. Oh wait, no, we have already items in there. So that's items in there. This already has items in there. So we'll take the items out of that and it'll stop. Okay, so now this one will fill up with redstone dust, while the other one, you gotta add another hopper here. That's not going anywhere. The other one's gonna get stone. Now you can see they have stone in there. Now you can see here in this hopper, you're having redstone dust and stone being filled in. And then you can take those items and put them into your crafter. This is essentially the same principle that we had with the candle crafter. But now, if you want to have the fully automated one, it will look something like this. This one, a lot of it is for demonstration purposes only. I've made it so that it has everything, and I do mean everything. It has your item filters for you to sort your items. It has a demonstration how you can use railways to do this as well. You can have rails to feed the items in. You can use water instead of the rails to have the items go into these hoppers over here, but under the item filters. I would not suggest using a hopper line for this because it just takes too much time. What I would suggest is having like a water stream fill into a hopper that acts like a buffer and use a railway to go across. That's probably the best way, because with rails it spreads everything across very evenly, whereas with a hopper line it's just going to get stuck at that point. Waterways would also be good because that'll allow items just to pass over, and then they'll end up picking up the items there. But of course, with the railway, it allows the items to go back and forth, back and forth. So if there are any items that the filters don't pick up on the first pass, they get picked up on the second pass. So having a railway with a minecart with a minecart loader here, that is probably the best way to do this. Now for this one, you probably noticed also it has this panel over here. This allows you to disable and enable slots just like on a crafter. Now this doesn't necessarily control the crafter as much as it controls the droppers that are over here. So you can see here I have the same basic unit. If you look very closely, you'll see there's the same basic unit is here. So you've got your, well, let me just go ahead and take this out because that's a half slab that's there. So you can see I have half slabs here so that the items pass under the half slab and into the next water source and keep on going in there. You can use signs as well. That works just as effectively. You want to put the sign on the side where the dropper is, but not on the dropper. So you may want to put a sign on this stone brick, the building block there, or maybe on one of the hoppers. It doesn't matter. As long as it's not on the dropper itself, you're good. So that you can have those little gaps, then put your water source block so you can have a steady stream in one direction. For this, so now over here again, you can see your dropper feeds into a comparator, which then you also have these hoppers that are feeding into the dropper. The comparator feeds into this block, which goes into a redstone torch, which then feeds into a AND gate line. So you have all of these are those basic units that I showed before, right? Every single redstone torch is in front of every single one of those basic units, and they have one big line that feeds into one spot. That's this spot over here. That spot gets a redstone torch in front of it that feeds into a very large comparator clock. So this is long enough that everything gets into the crafter on time, and so you don't have any type of mishaps with the crafter. Now the crafter mechanism for this is similar to the one that we have over here. Same idea. Instead of the comparator on comparative mode being fed into a block over here, it gets fed into a comparator clock, which then toggles and allows for a pulse to go into the crafter at a delayed pace rather than having it go right away. This allows for items to be filtered in. Then also, if you want to, for your output, you can send this off to whatever output you want, and this is being filtered out so that you have there's one for catching buckets, one for catching glass bottles. So if you ever use those, it'll end up using that. We can also show you, there was a crafter I had here for making honey. It'll take in honey bottles here, right? And then what it'll do is it'll output honey blocks and honey bottles. As you can see, it's doing that right now as it starts crafting the honey blocks. So for every honey block you get 4 bottles. So let me go ahead and put a few more in here just to show this does work. And there you go, you can see it starts working. The crafter on this mechanism is the basic one without the comparator clock, because you're only dealing with one item coming in, so you don't have to worry about having a delay on it. The only time that you need the comparator clock is when you have multiple items coming in, so that it has enough time for the items to get into the crafter. Going back to this one here, you can see that, again, you have your panel here that is similar to what you have in the crafter. So here in your crafter, you'd set it up however you want. So if you want, I want to make stone bricks, I can get myself some stone. And then what I do is I go to, you can see over here, first of all, you can see everything's enabled. So I set my crafter here as for the stone recipe. So that means going in here and disabling these. But then over here, what I do is I also do the same thing. So put one here, one here, one here, one here, and one here. Then you go to the back of these here, and you could look for any redstone torch that is turned on. So the one to the left of it is the barrel that you want to fill up. So I'm going to go ahead and fill up each barrel. So I'm going to cut this up in half there. That's one. And then this one will be the one over here. That's two. I'm going to go over here. So the one on the left over here, that's three. And the one over here, that's four. And you can see that's going to turn off. There goes your clock. And now it's going to start crafting stone bricks. And you'll see the stone bricks come in here. There you go. There's your stone bricks. Now you can see the crafter here. See, all the items are being released from the droppers, and they go one at a time down the stream and into this crafter. Now if I go ahead and turn any of these on again, so if I turn any of these on here like this, that's going to disable the whole thing, right? Because that one's going to turn off. The crafter is going to keep on going though, as long as it has items. So another feature we can add to this complete auto crafter is you can have a little master switch here. So what this does, this master switch is essentially a block to prevent items from going into the hopper pipes and into the droppers. So if you want to, let's say, I don't know, for whatever reason, you want to keep them from going in, you can just flip this here, and that prevents the items from getting into the buffers for the inputs onto the droppers. So if you turn that on, you'll see there's a line of redstone that goes across here, all the way down here, goes into a redstone signal transmission system, which is basically redstone dust, redstone torch, redstone dust, redstone torch, redstone dust. Then that feeds into a repeater, boots the signal, and then that goes into a line, a very long line of redstone dust and repeaters that goes all the way down in either end. This line of redstone dust and these blocks here are being butt up against these hoppers over here, right below these barrels. So if I were to go ahead and put an item in there, nothing happens because this is locked. So if I go ahead and let's say I want to make, I don't know, I'll make some oak wood, for instance. I'm going to go ahead and first of all enable, so I turn these ones off, disable all my my slots that I want for oak wood, and then I'm going to go over to my crafter here, make sure that's set up properly. That's already set up. And then I'm going to go ahead and look for the appropriate droppers. So we can see here, the redstone torch here is on. That means this is the dropper we want to put our first set of items in here. So let's go ahead and put half a stack in there. Then our next set for the recipe is going to be going into this one. So we're going to put that in here. Right? You can see nothing's going. Then we're going to go ahead and take, it's for this one. So we're going to go up around here. And then for this one, it's going to go up around here like that. There you go. Now, all of these are not receiving anything because right now the hoppers are locked, so items are still in there. And so you can see here, now nothing's going to go into the crafter over here, right? So what we're going to do here then is we're going to go back, oops, here, let's go back over to our master switch, turn this off, and there you go, enable it, and now the items will start to flow and we'll be able to make some oak wood or spruce wood. There we go. And now we can take a look here. Now this is kind of slow. If we want, we can adjust the speed of the comparator clock if need be. That's completely up to you. You can reduce the number of repeaters or reduce the number of ticks on the repeaters and keep the repeaters as is. Up to you on how you want to handle that. But you can see here it's very slowly making spruce wood. And over here we'll have our spruce wood coming out into this chest here. We had our stone bricks from before when we were using it for stone bricks. Now we have spruce wood. Now one thing to note is that once there are items inside the droppers, if the master switcher is turned off, so that it's disabling the hopper pipes, this thing is going to still keep on going. One little trick you can do here to stop it from working is to just turn one of these ones off here, or enable the slot there, and then you'll have one redstone torch that's on, so that means the whole thing gets turned off on the AND gate line. That's one little trick you can do in order to make that stop. Now we still have items in these droppers. So let's say we want to make it so that we can drain all the items for whatever reason. We're finished with our auto crafting. We want to drain all the items out of the hoppers, so out of the droppers that are there. So let's go down here and let's take a look. So here I have a little lever and I have a little barrel over here, and what's going to happen here is that this lever powers this line here, which goes through these blocks which have redstone torches on top of them. Now inside these, if you look over, if I take this and put here, you could see this redstone torch is powering the block that goes here, which then powers this hopper, which is pulling items out of this particular dropper. So if I go ahead and put the items back in again, now I'm gonna have to go back on top here and put the comparator back in place because the comparator was sitting on top of that block. So let me just go ahead and do that. And so I want to drain all the items out. Right now, those hoppers underneath the droppers are locked, so they won't take anything out. But if I flip this lever, which is going to feed redstone into the blocks that have those torches and that are locking those hoppers, if I flip this, it's going to unlock the hoppers and it's going to start draining items into this barrel. Very, very convenient if you don't want to have to go through every single barrel, or if you want to have like a little user interface where you can have a pipe over here that goes to a barrel with a switch. And so the users don't have to go and try and take all the items out. They just have to flip the lever and then everything comes to them inside of a chest or barrel or whatever inventory block. And once this is done, you'll see that there'll be no more items in these droppers over here. This one here, this one here, nothing left in those droppers. One thing you do want to do is to make sure that once all the items are drained from this, you can take your items out and also flip this switch again so that the hoppers that do the draining are locked again. Next, we're going to go over the filtration system for the inputs. So for this, we have regular standard run-of-the-mill filters. So we have your item hopper, which acts as a filter. There are your 4 slots with 5 items that have been renamed on the far right. On the far left, we have the item that you want to have filtered. In order to do that, you would place 5 of the filler blocks in each of the 4 slots on the far right, and then 3 in here. The third one is going to end up going to the hopper just below it, right over here, once it goes through. We have a comparator that this hopper is pointing to. We have 2 redstone dust. We have this red repeater, and then that goes into this redstone torch. And so when this block gets powered, then you have power going to the repeater, power going to the block, and then this redstone torch will turn off and unlock this hopper. Right. So right now this hopper here is locked. So that's how that would work. I prefer using rails because they happen to be a little bit more uniform in quickly distributing items back and forth over the item filters. So you'll see it go back, let's go this way, and any items that are not picked up by the filters, the minecart will then come back and then put more items in them. So it just keeps on going back and forth. And I made some changes this one here because it was a little bit convoluted, the last one I made. That wasn't working so well. So I made a few changes there, but with the design here is that once this hopper starts receiving items, it'll go through this system here, which will eventually send a pulse to the powered rail over here, which will then send the minecart off. When the minecart comes back, it'll have items still in it, so it will then end up with a pulse to this activator rail, which will allow the comparator here to read if that chest has items in it. If it does, it sends a pulse out, and then you get the same old idea. The pulse comes back to the powered rail over here. Now, all of this is just to make sure that the pulse works. That's all. That's in a nutshell. That's what it is. So what's happening here? First of all, you have the initial pulse. So you have this comparator, which feeds this repeater, feeds this NOT gate, which is this block with a redstone torch on it, which is currently feeding this pulse extender. When the torch turns off, the pulse extender will slowly decrease in power until it turns off, turning on this redstone torch, which activates this monostable circuit, which goes into another pulse extender, which then feeds into another redstone torch over here, which would then turn this one off. When it turns off again, this redstone torch will turn on again, which will send a signal through this monostable circuit, goes through these repeaters that cause a little bit further of a delay, and then it powers this particular powered rail. Now the hopper over here is going to still have items in it when the minecart comes back. So this is going to still be on. So that's why we have this mechanism here, which keeps on detecting whether or not it has any items in it. So long as there's items in it, the comparator here is going to be activated whenever this activator rail is going to be activated, as long as that minecart chest has items. That will activate the pulse extender, which will send a signal down here. Now at first this will be turned off, well, as long as that has items. So this one will be turned on. So when this one comes across, this is going to turn this off, and this is going to also send a signal down here at the same time, because the power is going to this block as well. And then soon after this turns off, this here is going to turn on, and it's going to activate the monostable circuit, which will then activate this pulse extender, which will then deactivate and then reactivate this redstone torch, activating this pulse extender, and then sending the signal over to this particular powered rail. So let's go ahead, and without any further ado, let's just take a look at how this works. So if we're going to go ahead and put our items in here. So here we have, we're going to start with I have ender, since we have more obsidian than I have enders. So we're going to start with that first, just to keep things a little bit more uniform. And over here, you can see we have a water elevator for items. We have some soul sand with a column of water source blocks. There is a dropper over there. The dropper has a block on the side of it, which has a compare on the opposite side. That is reading the dropper right now. And as long as there's item in the dropper, the comparator will turn on. When the comparator is off, this torch is on, which keeps this on, and this clock here doesn't activate. This is a observer clock. And but when it does turn on, this turns off. The observer over here detects the signal and then activates and then powers this block here, which powers this redstone dust, which then powers this redstone dust. This observer observes the change, and then it sends a signal here, and this just keeps on rotating over and over again. The signal also goes over here into this block, which is right above the dropper, which then keeps on spitting the items out. Now if we go over here, you can start to see that our minecart is going back and forth. And you can see here how this is working here. So this will keep going back and forth, until the minecart is completely empty. Right now it keeps on loading with items. Looks like all the eyes of ender have likely been loaded, which means we probably have some ender chests in here. So let's take a look. Yep, we already got 3 ender chests already made. There's another 4th that's coming in. You can see right here the mechanism is doing its thing. In the crafter, you can see here slowly each item is being put through. Now if we want to, you can actually make this a little faster by just adjusting the repeaters over here, or actually adjusting this over here. So if we wanted to, we can actually shrink it down a bit so that we get a pulse a little bit more sooner. There you go. And then you'll get items being shot in here a little bit faster. Also, we're going to try and adjust this too. We can also adjust the timers on here. So we can do this. In order to adjust how quickly the droppers drop their items, right? And we should see this go a little faster as well So it's going a bit faster now. And you can tinker around with the timings if you wish to make these things go a bit faster or slower, whatever you want, it doesn't matter. But that is our demonstration for Ender chests over there. Now, what I've heard a lot of people online saying is that the holy grail of auto crafting is making cake. Well, here you go. All the ingredients for making cake. And guess what I have over here? A chest just for cake. Okay, let's go ahead and just check to see that everything's clear here. I think everything should be clear on this. Yep. And we're gonna go ahead and just look up here. So this is just to prove a point here, is that this system is completely independent of any farm. You can have this independent of any farm. You can have multiple farms running in different locations and have their ingredients sent by rail or waterway or whatever to this system, and it will allow you to make cake, ender chests, wood, whatever. This is essentially a crafting factory, so which is very, very generic. You can configure it however you want. This yellow section is completely unnecessary. This is just for demonstration purposes, right? So even this hopper here and all that stuff, well, actually that hopper there is necessary because it feeds into, this feeds down there. But so we don't get rid of the hoppers there, but everything else, the concrete, the rails that are on top of here, this is just for demo's sake, for demonstration's sake. And so like I said, we've got chests here filled with all your ingredients. We have wheat over here. We'll run out of wheat here. And let's get rid of that. So wheat, eggs, missing a couple of eggs, sugar, and milk buckets. So we're gonna go ahead and let this go. So we're gonna have to, because of the way that the rails are, we're going to have to launch them independently. So at intervals here. So this one and this one will go first. And then we'll launch the one over here once that gets back. And then the wheat. There we go. And now if we go down here, we'll eventually see all the ingredients for cake coming through as soon as it activates. You can see here. The cake is going to go here once that's finished crafting. There's the cake. It gets pulsed. You end up with cake over here, and your buckets end up over here. And then you can send these buckets back to wherever you're getting the milk from. These farms, most of them haven't changed, except for the sugar farm. So the sugar farm is just a sugarcane farm where the output for the sugarcane goes into a crafter, which then turns the sugarcane into sugar. Very simple concept, is very easy to do for anyone who's into redstone. So making sugarcane into sugar is going to be fairly simple. So let's say this is your output from your sugarcane farm. That becomes the input for your crafter, and then you just have to set this up such that you have this like this. But what you're also going to need is you're going to turn this block from here onwards has to become a comparator clock, because otherwise it's not going to work properly. So let's go ahead and do like this. I'm going to put this here, boom, like that, boom, like that, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So we have 4 ticks. Do like that. And then now we can use this for making sugar. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's put some sugarcane in the barrel. There we go, and now you can see that it's making sugarcane. See? It's very, very easy. So just add this little configuration at the end of, or the output of your sugarcane farm in order to make it into a sugar farm. Then you take this output and then you can just feed that into a hopper system that would then take it by rail over to this one here, and it would go down this rail, and the rail would have to just go over the appropriate hoppers. Or you can feed all the items into a single one like this, use filters, and then all the items will get loaded into this minecart and then sent across at a regular rate, right? So, and of course this thing won't activate unless it has all the items needed to make that particular item that we want to craft. For those who do know me, you know that I usually like to make stuff that has never been made before. And this happens to be one of them. I have not seen a single YouTuber, at least to my knowledge, that has made something like this. A completely generic crafting factory is essentially what it is. A completely generic auto crafting factory, which allows you to, you can actually have control over what items go in and out. You can customize what items get crafted using this one here, and as well as the crafter. You have outputs that you can have for your buckets, your bottles, you can, or even for non-stackable items like cake, as well as other miscellaneous items that you want to have. Or you can just have it come out to a miscellaneous chest there, and then that goes to, you know, I don't know, your warehouse or whatever it is that you want to, like an auto-sorting warehouse. And then that will then stock up whatever item that you want automatically. So all this stuff can be fed from farms or just be fed from a quarry or whatever to create whatever we want completely automatically. So this is your general purpose crafting factory right here that you can use in your survival world or creative world or whatever you may want to use it for. And you know what? I was just thinking, what the heck? I might as well just show some examples of the sugarcane farm, the egg farm, and all that stuff. Here's an example of a wheat farm that's there. But I do have a tutorial that I've done on sugarcane farms. Just go ahead, go back and take a look at that. I'll maybe leave a link in the description for that. And as you can see, there's an output coming out here. The minecart goes over these hoppers, this collecting sugarcane whenever the sugarcane is being harvested by the pistons. That goes into a crafter right here, and that ends up being made into sugar. And you can see the same mechanism that I was talking about before in order to make the sugar. And then this can be sent off to your cake factory, for instance, or whatever else you want to make it with. Probably the best type of food that you want to autocraft that is like a baked good would likely be pumpkin pie, because pumpkins can also be auto harvested as well using the redstone. It's been done for a very long time, since like 1.4, 1.5. It's been a long time since they've been able to make melon farms and pumpkin farms. So that's another thing that you can make completely automatic since it doesn't require milk. So that's it, everybody, for today's tutorial. Remember to like, subscribe, and leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. If there's anything, any type of questions you might be having, just ask. That's what the comment sections are for any type of feedback or anything you might want. If you want to see me actually build this thing from scratch, feel free to ask. I'll be more than happy to do so. It's just that this is such a large build that it would take a significant amount of time, so I would rather leave it for a separate video. And if I do get enough likes on this, and I do see that people are commenting, please make a tutorial on how to make this from scratch. I will show that if I get enough comments and enough feedback, enough likes on this video. So let's go ahead to see if we can get like 1,000 likes, 2,000 likes on this one. See if we can get over that, and I will go ahead and make another video on how to make this particular auto crafting factory from scratch. So you'll be able to see how everything is made in detail. That said, like I said, that's the end of the video. So thank you guys for tuning in. I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.